Hi, I'm Yasmin Owusu, and this is my producer, Charlie Kesenek.
But I'm your husband, and you're using all my stuff right now. What are you talking about?
So anyway, I've been looking for a one-stop shop podcast for wellness, amateur sociology, psychology, pop culture, and whatever else sparks my interest. So I created one. We are limited to no lanes. We hit the gas and get into it. This is Piqued. Press play. Hi, welcome to Piqued Podcast. I'm your faithful host, Yasmin, and we're back for another week of Piqued. This week, I don't usually do the On Your Mind, On Your Nerves segment when I have my little tight half-hour solo episodes. I usually do that with producer husband Charlie because we have a bit more of a long format. But I'm doing it this week because it was just, I have a pressing and yet completely trivial peeve. So we're all familiar with the phenomenon of trends, I'm sure, right? We know what trends are. So I don't have a crazy philosophy around it. I participate in trends like anybody else. If it fits my aesthetic, if I like it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. That goes for music, that goes for fashion, that goes for home decor. You name it. If I like it, I'll do it. It can really just make things you like more accessible and easier to find, right? It's like if everybody's super into some musical artist, then it's just really easy maybe to see them live. It's really easy to buy their music and hear it out, right? If you really like a certain, clothing item, for example, I really like, all non-primary versions of green. I like sage, I like jade. And when they happen to be a trend, which I think they were last fall, winter or whatever, I'll stock up because you can just find that stuff at H&M now. You can find that color everywhere you go. Whereas, sometimes you have to dig around for it. All of that to say, I do not have an attitude about trends. And so this is not me being snobby about that at all. I do it myself. But it bugs me when people, and I just noticed that influencers and content creators do this a lot, where they will just get on there, turn their little ring light on and be like, I've just been super into, and then just insert the biggest trend on earth. So for example, right, I'm super into polka dots. It's just a thing that I like. It's a neutral to me. I've just liked them, as long as I can remember. I'm sure not when I was a little kid, but to me, it feels like a classic. It just feels the same as liking leopard, people, if you go to Staten Island in Jersey, leopard never left, right? That to me is polka dots. I just like them. And they're a big trend right now. So I'm over there on Zara.com, wherever it is, all the fast fashions stocking up for the drought, when there aren't enough around. And I'm not going to go online and just kind of be so I'm just really into polka dots right now. Even though it is something that I've been doing forever or wearing forever, it's just a little bit obtuse and coy and acting unaware of something that you're fully aware of to say something that is so prevalent and act like it's your quirk little niche thing. It was maybe 3 years ago, I saw this girl post a video, where she was talking about wearing mixed metals. And she was just I'm just super into mixing metals right now. It was the biggest trend ever. If you don't know what that means, if you're a guy or just not into nonsense like I am, it just means you classically were supposed to just wear gold or silver or brass tones, right? You're not supposed to just mix them all together. And there's this period, I don't remember if it was 2 years ago or something, where you were being encouraged. I make it sound as though officials are going to door to door with pamphlets. It was a trend to you could stack silver and gold jewelry. You could wear gold earrings and a silver necklace or whatever. And it was a free for all with what metals you mixed. And this girl just goes out and she's I've just been really into mixing my metals. What do you mean you've just been really into? It's if last year you're I've just been really into Chapel Rowan. Super niche, bro. Glad you just mentioned that super strange quirk of yours. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. It was just bugging me. Don't do listen, do I have the urge to be polka dots have always been my thing? Sure. But just add to the dialogue that they're kind of everyone's thing right now and they're kind of everywhere. And also with something so simple, let's say polka, it's you saying vertical stripes are my thing. Be so for real. I'm jeans are really my thing. Okay. I will leave that. So what I really wanted to talk about this week, though, is flip-floppers and flip-flopping and how we feel about it and who's doing it and what we think about it, right? Why am I thinking about flip-floppers? I'm sure you can guess. There have been a lot of people, and I'm just going to try to say on I don't know. I don't even want to say fully just conservative side, because some of these people I'm sure consider themselves independents or libertarians or librarians or whatever it is. But let's just say a lot of people who have not been super anti Trump, anti MAGA, anti president, even if they're not necessarily like full MAGA affiliates, they have not been very opposed to him, are starting to, jump ship and be really critical and not co-sign what he's doing lately. For example, Joe Rogan and Theo recently had a podcast episode together. It was on Joe Rogan's podcast, where they were kind of talking about things and being pretty critical of President Trump. Theo I will say, for a while has been critical of the Palestinian genocide, the Israeli genocide on Palestinians. So he has for a while. I mean, that's a pretty big thing to criticize the president for. So I wouldn't say this is a new thing necessarily for him. But it does have to be mentioned that he was at Trump's inauguration and cheering it on, and has had JD Vance on his podcast, etc. And Joe Rogan, similarly, had Trump on his podcast, which with his huge platform, I'm sure did not hurt him in his getting elected. And, even if you don't think that's, his responsibility, he also was at his inauguration, and he spoke on his own podcast about, high-fiving his friends and the energy being great in the room when Trump got elected. So we can say that he was very pro-Trump at one time, and they just sounded a little bit more critical now, as does Marjorie Taylor Greene, since her firing from his cabinet. And then we had, Candiace Owens has also had a big switch up and, is basically saying, my bad. And Tucker Carleson has also been kind of jumping ship. We've even seen Ann Coulter and Darth Vader Coulter, basically being critical of Fox News and being critical of Trump. I don't know if she has been before, but I tend to just assume she's on the wrong side of history at all times, and I have not been wrong yet. Anyway, so the dialogue around all of that, it's, I'm not really around a lot of MAGA loyalists, so I don't want to speak for them. I don't know how they're feeling about it. I imagine, if they're still super rah-rah President Trump, that they don't love it, and if they're still super rah-rah Fox News, that they don't love this switch up from certain people. I can't speak from from personal experience. You might have to ask them yourself if they're in your life. You will not get that information from me a day in your life. But on maybe my side of things, which is a little bit more liberal, a little bit more left leaning, I hesitate to really affiliate myself heavily with Democratic Party right now, or any party right now. I don't go to parties. Anyway, I think on our side, there's infighting too, to some extent. There are the people who want to be like, this is what we want. We want people to change their minds. We want them to be encouraged to do the right thing. We want them to get out and vote. We want them to so stop making them feel bad and stop holding them account and, just, welcome them, accept that they've changed, champion them changing, right? And then there are people who are they knew who this guy was, and they're acting brand new right now, but this administration is kind of as advertised. And I will say, I don't really know that I'm seeing a whole lot that wasn't essentially the campaign slogans of this administration. So I don't know if we can claim ignorance, but certainly you can say you've changed your mind when you see something in action. I mean, things can sound like, people might have voted for Trump because of fiscal reasons, and maybe they just didn't concern themselves too much with the ramifications for other people and other groups. And now that they're actually looking at what it actually looks like to be in that kind of country and world and situation, maybe they don't have the guts for it the way they thought they did. And I'm not going to commend that. So where I sit in all of that, if you're wondering, if I'm going to tell you on my podcast what I think about it, is I'm happy to get any more numbers, any more people, any more voices, and any more action in the right direction, and any more ability to have stoppage on some of the insane bleeding that we're having right now. Happy to have it. not willing to expend a lot of my energy lauding it. Or comforting, if anyone's defecting from like MAGA and like they're on, TikTok crying and being like, I don't know what to do. No one likes me. It's not that I can't imagine a world in which I would have empathy for you, but I'm just a little bit preoccupied with people in ICE detention. I'm just a little bit preoccupied with like, people in Palestine. So once I get down the list of like people in distress, I might get to like the just left, the people who did all this to everyone. And I'm feeling weird and bad about it. Like people don't want to invite me to parties. So it's not that I can't entertain the idea of any empathy. I can't entertain the idea of being like, good job, glad you're here. But I just think it's not a priority right now. And it's not where I'm throwing my energy right now. It feels like kind of an emergency situation. I just need you to get yourself up to speed. I think I need you to get your put your bootstrap. You guys love a bootstrap, right? Pull your bootstraps up, get to work. We're not going to do the whole like hugs and welcome people. Like, get to work. Like we're in the weeds, we're in the weeds right now. Clock the fuck in. That's all I have to say to you. If you're flip-flopping, flip-flop over here and clock your ass in. So that's where I'm at on that. Another flip-flop situation that I was made aware of through my TikToks, as always, is I don't know if you're familiar with MJ Gray, but she's a content creator online, and where else would she be a content creator? But her content was very the Shira 7 adjacent, very like, I don't want to say man-hatery necessarily, but she wouldn't mind that term, I don't think. But it's very transactional with men. We do not need them for this, and we should, as women, like use your looks to get this, but never trust men. And like, I would never marry a man. Very vocally, would never get married. Everyone's suckers, and women's are suckers for getting married. It's a humiliation ritual to be in a relationship. All the Korean women with the 4B movement, I'm on that too. If you want to hang out with me, you better be a rich man and you better be paying. And like, I don't care about like that kind of thing, right? Fine, right? Fine with me. Not my worldview, but also not my clown or my circus. So I don't have any judgment of that. Like, if you're not hurting anybody or doing anything criminal, if that is your worldview and you have people who are consenting adults who want to participate in that kind of relationship that's transactional, have at it, free will, at least for now in this country. So she's engaged to a very wealthy, well, I think a very wealthy man, or he's spending beyond his means, because leading up to this engagement of this never going to get married, men are, whatever, it's a humiliation ritual, woman, leading up to it. And she had said before also that I'm not into designer stuff. It's very, it's tacky. It's trying too hard. Like, you're trying to flex all of this, but really you're just like basically a zombie to corporations who are controlling you, right? She was doing a lot of hauls. A lot of designer hauls, getting on there and showing us a Louboutin shoe. And this is after she started dating this rich guy. And I guess she dated rich guys before and she'd gotten a bag here or there, but I don't think there was like a steady stream of like being able to like stay in these like really luxury hotels and, staying at Versailles and a hotel, going to Louis Vuitton every day, like buying like I don't know what it was. It was like a $3,000 or $10,000 like rattan bag. At one point she like did this, she showed that she bought this like beach bag that was like rattan. Why am I saying rattan? Is that how you say rattan? Rattan. Anyway, it's like a straw bag essentially, and it was like thousands and thousands of dollars, which whatever. I like to be frivolous with dumb shit too. I get it. And I actually don't mind if you're really into getting designer stuff. And like, I love like, just a girl who's just excited about her stuff. Like, I can get down with that. I'm a happy for you type of chick. But it's a change up that, while she's dating this guy, suddenly it's all hauls. And 5 minutes ago, when maybe you didn't have the access to the hauls, it was, why are you berating other people about it? You know what I mean? And it's okay if you don't want to get married. It's okay if you do suddenly. It's okay if you change your mind. But I guess where we're all kind of landing with it was like, why was it so vocal? Why was it so like wrong and strong, right? Now, I'm trying to say both sides here, but I've honestly been fighting for my life in her comments to defend MJ Gray. And here's why. I think that people basically are saying that it was all an epic cope. She couldn't find a man, and so she was like, no one should date men. She couldn't find a good one, let's say. I mean, obviously she could date people. She's a beautiful girl, by the way. She looks like a model. And everyone in her comments is like, she doesn't look like a model and she's got a big chin. Please, please. You 100,000 billion% know this woman is attractive. Like, just stop with this. Either way, she, I'm sure, had no problem. Her dance card, I'm sure, was full, but she couldn't seem to find a man she could trust, date, whatever. And so she was just like, screw it all, and everyone else should screw it all. And the same with, like, material things. People are like, oh, it's an epic cope. She's like hating from outside the club. She couldn't get all the stuff. So she's like, saying that it's like, it's stupid to like want it, right? But she actually maybe really wanted it and couldn't have it. So my thing with all of this is, what is wrong with coping? When did trying to find ways to just, steel yourself to maybe a harsh reality? And I understand it can feel like, why is she scolding and why is she like telling other people to think this if she doesn't really believe it herself? I think sometimes when you feel like you're in a tough situation or not the life that you hoped for, or you feel disenchanted and hardened, you're just trying to like accept your reality, right? And I think she was just vocally, like you're all saying, coping. That's what we do. You just got to keep living, man. She was just, I don't know, it's like said with such a negative connotation, and it's used a lot online in this negative way, but isn't that what we're trying to do, is to cope with tough circumstances, to find ways to accept them? And I mean, I know we also should be aspirational and like, try to keep our hearts open, blah, blah, blah. But I guess where I landed on it when I saw her doing this stuff before she was being called out, even before she got engaged, I saw the backlash coming around the corner quick. I could feel it. I could feel it like grazing my ear. And I just kind of watched from afar, but in my heart and my mind, I was just watching this girl trying on all this stuff and just feeling so lucky and so excited and so happy. And I could just see her kind of softening because she feels like she can trust this person. And she, I don't know, like she's just a happy girl who thought she couldn't be happy. And I don't know if I'm just a sap or a simp or what the hell I am, but I was just happy for her. I was happy that she thought she couldn't find love, that she couldn't find, a guy who would get her, that she couldn't, have all this stuff, and that she found out that she had steeled herself and she had braced herself for a storm that she didn't have to. And like, she could actually just chill, So I don't know, man. Call me a romantic, but whatever. I was just happy for her. And I understand we got to call people to account for the things they say, hold them accountable for things they say. Sometimes I'm just like, whatever. Can a girl just like change her mind? Can she just be wrong about things being shittier than they really are? Like, I could have told her, if this was a person I knew, and not to get parasocial, I could have told her, my husband's it's not a humiliation ritual. Not for me. I mean, ask him. But like, I know plenty of people who are in healthy relationships. And I think maybe she just got a worldview that was hardened from the people that she's dealing with. And part of that's probably because she's really hot. And when you are really hot, you tend to get, even if it's not on purpose, sucked into this cycle of like, people see you as a status symbol. And so you kind of end up being that like trophy to people, and they don't treat you like the human they should. And there's not this mutual respect sometimes. And I think if you're just like hot since you're like really young, that can really just become this like echo chamber of like, this is all you experience. So you think that's all there is, right? But I don't know. Are we not happy she discovered that's not all there is? Do we want her to apologize? Do we want her to get online? And she has been defensive online and just being like, I didn't say that. I don't know. You did say that. You did say all of that. And it's not what you think now. I will say this, though, to her credit, it does seem as though she did find the person that she didn't think existed, that got her this stuff that she pretended not to want. She found this person holding her boundaries, being strict as fuck, and following her philosophies. So there's that, right? So like, if you want to say she doesn't practice what she preached, she found a man who knows he's going to have to buy her stuff. She found a man who knows she's not going to like, be nice if he's not paying. Like, so she, and also just like standards of like whatever, attractiveness, whatever she has. She held her standards. She held out. She didn't open up to like, any dusty on the street. And so one way or the other, I guess in a way, she got everything she wouldn't admit she wanted with the philosophy that she preaches. So I don't know, man. It's a 50-50 there. Another, I guess, let's just say it's a crop of people. So the body positivity soldiers of old. So we have our Lizzo, our Remy Bader, our Meghan Trainor, right? All about that bass, like bringing booty back, right? So, now they're on Ozempic and they're trying to scale their booty back. No judgments on that. I'm not going to talk about, whether it's healthy. People like to get in the weeds online about people's health, and it's healthier to be obese, it's healthier to be skinny, and it's whatever it is. Everyone's body is different, for one, and people can have good vitals at different weights. I mean, there could be someone who's 88 pounds and 5'4" who has like good vitals, and that's just their genes. And there can be people who are like overweight and for whatever reason, anyway, here I go turning into the doctor that I'm not. I'm not interested in trying to be like a pseudo doctor here. So I'm going to assume that everybody is within their right and healthy to choose their preference of like how they want to look and how they want their body to show up in the world. But there's been a flip and there's been a flop. I think there isn't enough talking about why it was such like, be neutral about this. And you know what? No, this is who I am. Like for Lizzo, for example, she's like, no, I do yoga. I eat whatever, I eat very healthy and I am very healthy, and everyone's saying that I'm not healthy, blah, blah, blah. Like, and this is, I'm big, but I'm healthy and I can do anything anyone can do. This was like kind of her verbiage, right? So now that she's losing weight or whatever, she's turned around and she's like, yeah, I mean, I was so gross and unhealthy back then. Like nobody knows, like everyone's criticizing me for doing Ozempic or for like, losing weight. And I mean, she also, I think, has like done diet and exercise and worked out. People are criticizing me for that, but like, they didn't know how I was like living before. Well, we didn't know because you're basically saying that you stand on your head and like, you're like a freaking nirvana level yogi, and that's why you're, healthy forever. And nothing is wrong with you, but that's what you were saying. So like for now that you've decided to like lose weight and God bless that journey, I think we need to just say a mea culpa, or I don't believe that anymore. I don't think that anymore. I actually look back on myself and I realize I wasn't self-aware. Let's reconcile it a little bit. And I think for the Meghan Trainor, it's like, don't just show up skinny and be like, hey, like, girl, no one told you had to sing songs about body positivity. No one told you had to do that. No one told you had to bring your physicality into anything. But if you do, and you bring it into like the global dialogue, I think when it shifts, we need to spill the beans on that too. We need to say a word or two about that too. There are plenty of people you see it go up and down, but their career was not about their weight. I don't think they they owe us to say a damn thing. I don't think that, Sam Smith has one song about being skinny or big. So if he's fluctuating, I let him live. He didn't make it a thing, right? The same way that I think a lot of people with the MJ Gray thing, they're like, if she hadn't yapped this hard, we'd just be like, cool, girl, get your bag, literally your bag. And now I want to kind of shift over to kind of close to us. Let's turn the camera around to us. So I've talked about these like prominent people and like their flip-flops. Our cultural flip-flops are wearing me the hell out. So Lena Dunham has been working overtime promoting her new book. I don't know the name of it. I will not be reading it. I read one of her books. Great. If you're not familiar with Lena Dunham, she wrote the show Girls, and she's just, a great writer, producer, and, I will never deny her talent. Girls is a great show. Really, I watched it a bunch, and I think, it's a near perfect show. It's a great watch if you haven't watched it. It's on HBO. Either way, She's written books before, and now she's written another one, and she's been out promoting it. And she is a very smart woman and always has been, and has written content that I think reflects that she's intelligent and she's articulate. And she said some things and done some things that are controversial that have made me not have the best opinion of her. Some of them microaggressive, racially driven, and some other things. I'm not going to get into the whole Lena Dunham controversy too much. If you are that interested in it, go ahead and do a quick Google. I think it'll probably be the first thing that turns up. Either way, it's kind of bugging me that people are like, growing up is learning that like Lena Dunham was always fine. No, it's not. No, it's not. The things that she did wrong then and the things that she said that were off then were also at the time in the context interspersed within her putting out great art. I mean, Girls is a great show based in New York that had no diversity in it. And her answers on that were not satisfactory. And when she chose to have diversity on her show, she had Donald Glover play a Black character that was a Black Republican, and the interactions between these characters were absolutely atrocious. It was like impossible for her to just have a normal episode with a Black person where it wasn't like a weird, I don't know, just insane shock value thing. It's almost like she just couldn't exist with a person of color in a normal way, which as a person who lived in New York for so long, my God, like it's so diverse there, and people like hang out with all kinds of people there. I just, how do you get to a point where you're this awkward around diversity? So that happened. The weird thing she said about Lamar, I almost said Lamar Odom. Why is this rat living rent free in my brain? The other football player, very handsome, is his name Lamar too? Anyway, Odell Beckham, not Lamar Odom. There's an OD and I got confused. Odell Beckham, she had basically sat next to him at an award show and he was on his phone and just being a human being while a man and Black and attractive. And she was like, did he even think I was a woman? I mean, he didn't even know what I was. Like basically making this whole, I don't know, dialogue and story around this guy who's just essentially not giving you attention, just maybe being an introvert, being on his phone, doesn't know you anything. Very weird. Anyway, I just said I wasn't going to get into the laundry list of things she's done. But this is not us discovering that, by the way, Lena Dunham is actually not that bad. I think most of us who were really aware of her, the things that she created at the time, always knew that this was an intelligent, funny, bright, interesting person who was doing things that were making us disappointed in her consistently and not being as accountable for them as, we would like her to be. And still, I would say she's not going, when she talks about why she was, pissing everybody off recently in an interview, she's like, I think I've just always been inherently annoying. No, girl, you've been microaggressive. You've been bordering on racist. So there was a girl, again, I'm getting into her list of crimes. Look into it. Either way, I don't know. It's this issue that we seem to have a society of holding nuance. You can think that she is smart, interviews well, blah, 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 while also understanding the reasons why we had pause about her and not having fucking full-blown amnesia. It's maddening. And I would say that, it's really similar to the whole growing up and knowing that Carrie Bradshaw is, I watched that show at the time and Carrie Bradshaw was insufferable at the time. If you are just basically a follower and don't know how to form your own opinion, and when people change their opinions or you learn new opinions over time, you try to rewrite history, it aggravates the hell out of me. And I think it's okay for you to learn more about someone or something and just decide that you feel differently about them on a whole. But let's not say we just suddenly we're all just as a culture, oh my God, who knew? We knew these people were, nuanced and different and full blown adults with tons of things about them that like are not just like this one, you know, controversial thing about them. And now you're feeling more forgiving about it, or you feel like they've gone away for a while and you're not sick of it anymore. But like, call a change up a change up. You're changing up on these people. That's what's happening. Like, you feel like, okay, well, she went away and like, I don't know, like she's not in our face, irritating us 24/7, saying these weird things anymore. Maybe she's gotten older. She has like, you know, had chronic illness. Maybe it's brought her reflection. Like I wanted to say, like people who decide to be like super wrong and strong about something, when they come back with a completely different opinion, I would just like them to acknowledge their old one. I would like for us as a culture also, when we have a massive change up on someone, to acknowledge, not just be like, oh, who knew? You knew. I did see Hailey Bieber recently wrote something, because I guess people are kind of shifting on her. They've been really critical of her and like nasty and whatever. And I think people are kind of coming around to her narrative a little bit more and just being like, she actually has been really supportive to her husband. She was such a kid, and you know, the whole thing of her being a stalker is, it's so silly, whatever. She's had Bieber fever and everyone wants to make a big deal. And now she's been married with this guy. She has a kid and she's like nursed him through addiction. And she wrote this thing where she was like, you know, save it, with the like, you know, the switch up towards me. The therapy is already paid for. We can't do anything about, you know, the trauma you've caused me. And it was kind of refreshing, honestly. Yeah, and I wonder if the same kind of thing is going to happen with this whole like Alex Earl and Alex Cooper thing. I don't want to get too far into this, like, you know, blonde on blonde catastrophe that everyone's talking about, and the chicken fry that fell from the sky, and the, you know, Dave Portnoy getting involved in like this. I mean, I understand he knows both girls, but there's just something inherently funny about this like middle-aged, like New England white guy just like sitting in, is he in Newport? I don't know where he is, like somewhere on the Cape, just talking about this stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna leave that at that. I bet I could think of a million ways in which I flipped and flopped and not taken accountability for the massive change up. And my friends who listen to this podcast or know me are probably like thinking about them right now, and that's fair. But I'm not here to call myself out. I'm here to call out everybody else. And I can do that without anyone responding, because I've been talking to myself for a half hour. With that all said, I will catch you next week, and be careful.